There's a program, collaborative problem solving is what it's called.
Okay.
And collaborative problem solving, what that says is that when a student misbehaves, you've got three options. You've got option A, and with option A, you just demand that the student follow your directions in that moment. You're trying to force yourself upon them. Now, a lot of times teachers like to go straight to option A, but where option A is really the most, let's say, necessary, where it's the right option, is when the behavior is dangerous. If the
Okay.
student's about to throw a desk, like absolutely go to option A and stop them from throwing a desk. But when they're tapping their pencil, option A is not your best bet. Like tapping a pencil, they're not hurting anybody. And if you try to force your will with those incredibly difficult students, forcing your will is just going to continue to have them continue to tap that pencil because now they know it annoys you, so they're just going to keep going. Then you've got option C. Option C, we just ignore that behavior for now. We're going to let it go because we got other things we're working on with this student. But once we get some other things tackled, we can come back to trying to address this littler behavior. And then option B is where you're actually trying to fix the behaviors. And with option B, what you do is you have a collaborative conversation with the student. So you acknowledge that the student has their own needs, like there's a reason why they're tapping that pencil. And so you say, something to the effect of, I understand that tapping that pencil helps you in some way. However, when you're tapping that pencil, that disrupts everybody else in class because they can't hear me over the tapping of your pencil. So I'm wondering if we can find a way to get your need met while also meeting my expectation of other students being able to focus. And then you try to come up with the solution together for with the child. And a lot of times, the children do kind of have some reason why they're doing it. They know their thinking and their logic behind it. And you can come up with a creative solution where maybe they just need to move. Maybe they're tapping that pencil because they're just really fidgety. And if you give them a little rubber ball that they can kind of squeeze in their hands, it doesn't make any noise. They're not disrupting anybody. It helps them to focus. And so that need can be met without everybody else being disrupted.
Well, now that we're more open to that kind of program, you may find it being used a little more widely in our classrooms. But then while you were speaking, it brought me right back to coming into the classroom and a lot of the times relying on what you remember about how you were taught.
Yep.
Now, back then, you're tapping a pencil and making that little noise. Who's going to come to you, Mr. Blaine, to say, well, I understand you have the need to tap the pencil, but when you tap the pencil, it's a little distracting. I wonder if we can find a way to...
Right, back in your day, they just came with the ruler.
They came with the ruler, or that pencil would disappear from your hand so fast you would wonder what happened.
Yeah.
They would just grab that from your hand.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, yes. So, I must confess, even now that I know better, there are times when something like that would happen in the class. I would continue with my teaching, whatever, walk around towards where that child is, take the pencil and just go and continue on. Not necessarily creating a scene, but just take the pencil from the child.
But I think I think that's the difference, right? There has to be a balance because when people hear about these strategies, like let's sit and talk with the child and so on and so forth, they get so focused on the I have to collaborate in every situation that all of a sudden it's like they lose their respect. They stop enforcing the rules within their classroom, right? It's not it's helpful when you've got a child that just isn't following, isn't behaving, you've tried your normal stuff and it's not fixing it, to then, well, nothing else is working, what's it going to hurt for me to try and have a plan B conversation with this child? But then if you always do it, you find these people that get overly permissive. They're always trying to, they're almost begging their students to behave. Like, please be quiet right now. I need you to be quiet. And they're not willing to do what it takes. So then the children just think that they can get away with everything because nothing ever gets enforced. So taking the pencil, like you said, you're not taking it an angry way, right? You're not going over there just ripping out of their hands saying, "Give that to me." You're taking it as you pass by quietly so that they stop the tapping, and I'm sure you give them their pencil back when they actually need a pencil.
Well, truth be told, I have taken it angrily.
Okay.
I mean, not to hurt the child, but
Yeah.
can you stop that, please?
Yeah.
And then you continue your lesson. Then you hear tap, 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 tap again.
Yeah.
Jack, can you stop that, please? It's disturbing. Jack stops for 10 seconds.
Yep.
You turn around, continue, and then you hear tap, 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 tap again.
Yep.
Right? The next thing that comes to mind is just to grab that pencil from Jack, because Jack, you've said it, and I have found myself doing it.
Yeah.
I would actually say, Jack, I have said it nicely 5 times. Is it that you don't understand when I speak nicely to you?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like sometimes I actually say that to them because sometimes I really don't understand. Because I have said it once nicely, right? Not made a scene or anything, not embarrassed you. Try to help you understand that, you know, it's distracting, you're disturbing. The rest of us want to hear what's happening, you know.
Yeah.
And you're just going to ignore me completely.
Yeah.
Or stop for 5 seconds and start again.
Yeah.
So then I come and I just grab the pencil.
Right.
I mean, I have said it how many times, you know.
And sometimes it's really not in the child's control. I mean, looking at the development of the brain, the prefrontal cortex isn't fully there. They're not intending to be disruptive. It's just like they have that need to kind of move in that moment or something. And that's where the plan B conversation can come in, because if you're continuing to get that behavior from Jack, you're not going to take his pencil from him every day, or you don't want to have to just always go and take a pencil. You'd rather just have the tapping not happen. So coming up with some compromise where he can get that need met without being disruptive is going to make your day a lot easier too.
That's the thing. Now, of course, having learned that, then obviously, you know, you're going to act upon it differently.
Yeah.
But when you don't have that skill set, you don't have that knowledge, you know, you rely on what you've known or what you think is going to stop the behavior and to get everything back on track. Well, only to find that it doesn't necessarily work, because like you said, okay, it stopped it for Monday afternoon, Tuesday Jack will do the same thing. You know, but when you know better, you read up on behaviors and all of that, you know, different children, and we know with special needs and all of that, what to expect. Then obviously you're not going to continue with that measure. You know, you will try something more positive, something that's going to help both the child and the situation in the classroom.
And one thing I think is really important that we sometimes forget about, we kind of touched on it earlier when we were talking about how we're all humans and we have things going on in our life, is like the students feed off of our mental state. So if the students are being disruptive and loud and they're not listening to us, sometimes we get flustered, right? We go down, like we get stuck in this quicksand where it's like they're not listening. So now I'm getting upset. Now I'm getting louder. The louder I get, the worse their behavior gets because they're feeding off of me. But if there's a way where I can kind of bring myself under control, take a couple of breaths, I can calm down, then the students are going to match that energy. When I calm down, they're naturally going to calm down with me. But when you find a teacher constantly has to yell at their class and you always hear that coming out and the noise and everything, I mean, that teacher is almost working against themselves, because all of that yelling is doing nothing more than making the kids be more and more disruptive. It's not going to fix the situation.